you've been extremely busy since your Palantir days, Adam. You've sold 2 companies to Salesforce.
Yep.
You now lead all of AI and Agentforce at Salesforce. And you, as Victoria mentioned, are now a part of the Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in AI. Please help us all understand, how did you get here leading AI at Salesforce? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
All right. Well, so much time do we have? No, just kidding. Well, first off, thanks, Ben, for having me, and Maddie. Incredible innovation in that keynote. As far as my story, or what I really love to do, is I'm a builder. I think probably many of you in the audience have an entrepreneurial edge, or thinking about building companies and more. And right now at Salesforce, my MO is basically doing the same thing, but the only difference is that it's a 75,000 person startup, and we are moving as fast as we can. Our customers, this is like an incredible moment we're all going through, as we're seeing that just with voice, but bringing in AI to every aspect of the business, whether it's kind of the front office or doing operations in the back end. At this moment, our customers are trying to go as fast as they ever have, and we have to meet them at that moment. And one of the things that is, I think, really, if I think about what I do on a daily basis, or our challenges are, what maybe Salesforce is uniquely positioned to do, is we have some of the world's largest customers, these enterprise customers that, although they want to go very fast, they're also operating an environment where they're used to multiple, nines on everything. Their brand is on the line, the way they treat their customers and more, and all they want to be moving very fast and reinvent themselves in the world of AI. We have to do it in a way that they can actually maintain their brand, bring in the people, have agents follow policies. Testing. All right. Follow policies and more. I guess this is probably a little popping here. And so this is where we're at. Trusted AI. And part of this is bringing in not just agents and agents that speak, thanks to ElevenLabs with Agentforce Voice, but also follow policies are testable, and large-scale operational teams can take advantage of them.
I love it. And I was at Dreamforce this year. There was a lot of buzz and action really around Agentforce. To me, it really seems like this is the priority of the company. And in leading Agentforce, I'd just love to ask, how's it going?
It's going great. I mean, we've got customers, brands, like we were just watching kind of an e-commerce brand. Williams-Sonoma is a great customer of ours. And one of the things, as I was watching Maddie do that demo, is they have over 10,000 SKUs. There are 9 different brands. This is like Pottery Barn and kind of iconic things. And they have multiple order management systems. These are very kind of complicated at-scale businesses to be able to do recommendations of products, ultimately have all kinds of things from furniture to plates, things. It's just one customer, fantastic customer for us. These are the kinds of customers that we have. And not only have things like retail, but another great customer, actually, let's move into Europe, is Adecco. Adecco, if you're not familiar, is one of the largest job recruiting agencies in the world. They do about 100 million applications, job seekers, a year. And that is a really interesting space for AI, because not only is everyone's afraid of things changing from jobs, but we're actually helping connect job seekers and employers together. And in the EU, that's also something where there's a lot of regulation coming out specifically around this topic. So it's one of the largest companies in the world in that space, operating in an environment where there's changing regulation and a hot button issue. And they're actually one of the first Agentforce Voice customers to roll that out as well. So lots of things going very, very well. And you kind of mentioned also Agentforce's a few things for us. Agentforce is, in my part, it is a platform to build agents and much more. However, it's also all the technology that we're using internally. One of my biggest customers is Salesforce itself. So all of our clouds, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, et cetera, are all going through this transformation journey as well. So they're rebuilding these massive business lines. And then ultimately, we're also building turnkey agents on top of that for all of our customers. So just at some level, we kind of throw the Agentforce umbrella as almost a marketing term around all of that. It's a platform. It's an internal transformation engine for us operationally and our product development, and ultimately also for our customers.
Amazing, and incredible customer stories as well. Just zooming out a bit, though, if you think about the future of the human-computer interaction, how do you think about that?
Well, I think that if you're in this room, you are probably going to agree with this, and you're on the forefront of it, which is everything is going to change. the way that we interact with computers is going to be conversational. I mean, it already is starting to go that way, but voice, I mean, look at the multimodality in the demos where you can now see something interact while you're talking. It's also just human. We've been speaking for basically since existence, our preferred modality of communication. I think the real question isn't if, but it's going to be kind of the when and the how that transition is going to play out. When I think about a lot of our, like going back to kind of our customers, so let's just talk about voice. Having voice on your website and a digital channel, right, over WebRTC, kind of the interaction that you can have that opens up a lot is incredible. Having it in a companion app, incredible. However, most of our customers right now, with the way they're set up and the scale of their operations, what they're doing, when we go talk to the people that actually talk to customers with voice, it's in the contact center. So what is that? That's the 800 number. So what we're doing, the very first rollout isn't saying, hey, what can we do to really change kind of the human-computer interaction, what's possible technically. But where we go is where there's interest, where there's value, the ROI story, like the foot in the water, the toe in the water to get started is the contact center, the 800 number, and the lines of business that have budget and goals and targets to reduce average handling time and all these other things. And that is now the first wave. However, I look at ultimately, I think that's kind of, in my mind as a technologist, I think, well, that's great and I understand why that's it, but I really want to just do something bigger and I really want to just kind of kill the 800 number as opposed to support it. And I believe that'll be the future. However, even though it's technically possible, we have to bring people along. And that isn't just the businesses and where they're at, that's their customers and their behavior and more as well. So I think as we kind of move into the future rapidly, conversational interfaces to apps and everything we do is clearly coming the way. And I think it's up to us as kind of product developers, or if you're a decision maker bringing it your business, the balance, the idea of kind of the transformative, more moonshot, brand new way of operating versus the kind of replace and incrementalism for at scale operations. You have to do, I think, both, especially if you really want to ultimately compete better than anyone else in your market.
I love it. And I think we could all agree enterprise is really well known for selling, Salesforce is really well known for selling into the enterprise. And so as you think about voice agents, I'm curious, what are some of the biggest, friction points and challenges that you see in taking enterprise pilots to really scale at production?
Okay. So if you're a practitioner, this is true. It's never been easier to build a demo. It's very hard with stochastic underlying LLMs and everything like that to build something that's at scale in a production way with the 3 nines, right? And so the hardest part of this is that the consistency and kind of the ability to build agents that ultimately do a job in a way that someone, let's say in that line of business, like that contact center I just mentioned, if it doesn't work, they're not going to want to move forward with it. Their job is on the line. They're literally measured by seconds in terms of contact center. I mean, it's a very well-oiled machine and understood when you get into that space. So when you deploy agents, if they don't work or really customers don't like them or prefer the method, then it's all not going to really work out too well. It's going to take a lot longer to deploy this stuff. So we spend, I think about a lot of what we're investing in, we spend time with our customers. I mean, again, we have hundreds of thousands of customers. So how do we get a way for people to take the integrations they need to their back office systems? Of course, when it's in Data Cloud and Sales Cloud, it's much easier. However, a lot of our companies, our customers are integrated all over the place. How do we make it easier to integrate to their data, to clean up their data because it's not always in the right place or they've kind of not been maintaining it over time? I mean, this is the dirty, messy reality. And then the business policies and the logic. Like as an example, that don't order more than 500 items for inventory checks. There's a lot of that. In fact, if I talk about Williams-Sonoma for a second, if you get into furniture deliveries versus plates, it's totally different policies about it for delivery and all kinds of things. So there's this reality of all kinds of complexity that is in a mixture of in code, in apps and APIs and business logic. It's written down in documents. There's tribal knowledge. Salesforce on Slack. Probably a lot of people are Slack users. Lots of information about actually how to conduct business is all over the place. And so part of our job, or really our challenge that we have to come up with is over this next year or decade, how do we en masse take all of that information about how a business wants to run, its policies, its data, and clean that up so that we can literally just tee it up to meet the AI moment. Because there's this incredible technology of what's possible now, but it actually has to be connected back to how businesses want to run. And ultimately, customers have to like it. It's got to be fast. It's got to have the right tonality, all those kinds of things too with voice. And that is going to be what moves the needle.
I want to double click on one thing you said about data cloud, because here in the Bay, I feel like I've been hearing from years, Mark Benioff and Salesforce in general talking about the importance of data cloud and the trust layer. How does that help you really accelerate with Agentforce?
Yeah, so Data Cloud is a lot of things. One, it's a vector database. It's unstructured information. There's a lot of AI around how to index and kind of pull that information in. But also, what it was initially built for is what we call a CDP. This is a customer data platform. What this means is, hey, I've got a lot of data all over the place about my customers. Okay, so maybe that's I don't know, Databricks, maybe that's Snowflake, maybe that's kind of all over in different marketing systems, what have you. And you need to kind of pull together to create a profile. And by the way, every one of our customers at scale, I mean, if you're an enterprise, your systems aren't really clean. You've launched new product lines, acquired companies yourself. I mean, I can't tell you how many customers that we have that have, 10 plus instances of Salesforce alone that they operate on. So it's a complex environment of data all over the place. And Data Cloud makes it easier than ever through what we call our Zero Copy Alliance to connect data from all these places and pull together. And then there's something called Data Graph. This is effectively it's like a both literal and fuzzy join where you're going to create a graph of all that stuff to create a profile of a customer, and then it can run in real time. So as events are happening, like you're clicking around on a website and looking at things, or maybe you're having a conversation with a customer service rep and there's transcription that's happening, how do we update that profile so that we can ultimately have kind of a push-based context that goes into things like agents for better context engineering and personalization? And so Data Cloud is a massive lift for us to be able to kind of get all of that data in one place, kind of the harmonization of it with the graphs, the real-time kind of push for context, and of course the unstructured data with kind of the vector database and innovation on that.
Makes a lot of sense. I imagine as you're talking with Agentforce customers and prospects, there's probably this wide range of people from AI tourists to like ready to deploy things at scale. For those that have really leaned in and moved faster, what do you think separates them? What's their approach and what's different about those organizations?
Yeah, who goes the fastest? Okay, so I think probably two things. One, I kind of covered it a little bit in terms of have you been taking your vitamins? Have you been cleaning your data up? Is your knowledge in good shape? Do you have APIs for all your systems? Have you been consolidating? This is not an attractive thing. This is just the reality. By the way, if AI and agents are the new apps, great. Yes. However, software integrating to all those systems, you still have some of the same problems that we had before just because the new technology is amazing. Well, how good is your source data, right? And when by the way, we turned on one of the first agents we launched live, we call it, when we use our own products, we treat ourselves as customer zero. We have help.salesforce.com. We turn on our customer service to help people, change my password. I need to know how to set up a user. Salesforce has a lot of products. It's like 500,000 articles, by the way, on support articles. And the operations, by the way, fantastic. We've saved actually 500,000 hours on this. It's got an 80% resolution rate. It's really a great story. However, when we turned that on, we were like, why is the agent saying that? It's a bug, LLM, hallucination. And the answer is no. Actually, that's what the data has always said in the article is just, it was like we turned a flashlight on and now we could see some of the problems. And I'm saying that because this is probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of organizations, that they just have to invest more in this. And by the way, when we launch agents and these things, there's a good reason to now. Before they could kind of get by, and just like us, internally we saw it, there's that kind of debt pay down kind of investment people need to make. And the second thing, which is probably maybe that's more of a kind of a weight for you. The other one is more of kind of the top down kind of push, or maybe the carrot, which is the fastest moving customers that we have kind of the mandate from the CEO, the top down, like we are going to transform ourselves. In fact, that Adecco customer I just mentioned, they're leaning into this moment to completely rebuild. In fact, we have a joint venture that we've announced with them. They're really going into how do we think about employment in the future with AI? And when you have more visionary leaders that are willing to kind of go all in, and especially if they're large companies, you can you could spend years not moving forward and having all kinds of reason to deliberate and things like this. And it kind of comes down to somebody coming in and saying, we're going to ship this in a month or a quarter, and this is just what we're going to do. And so I see both I would say the maintenance and the readiness on one side with the sense of, especially for large companies, the thought leadership and kind of galvanizing support. Those two things I think are what I've seen is probably the most, the combination of what really unlocks many of our customers.
How do you think about the current architecture of voice in terms of like the cascading model and orchestration versus a voice to voice model and what you've seen in the space? As I'm sure you've evaluated it.
So I'm really excited for voice to voice. It's good. It's fast. It's natural. It's really great bidirectional. It's like in some ways it's clearly the future. However, what I was just describing is the challenges to get to the multiple nines of consistency. That is really where the rubber hits the road right now. So the cascading approach, and for those that don't understand what that term means, I just define it as basically kind of the ears, the brain, and the mouth. Like you've got your ASR, you've got your LLM, and you got your TTS, right? So if that makes sense. And the division of these things, although can introduce more latency and some other things like that, and it has some drawbacks, I think right now is where things are at. State of the art. You need control in the middle. In fact, as we have moved to do more and more releases with working with our customers, having more, in some kind of weird twist of irony, more determinism inside of the agents looping and reasoning and more control over certainty is what our customers want versus just, hey, the model can do everything, just toss it over. Like prompts alone are basically not enough. If you come into regulated environments where we work with a lot of banks and insurance companies and more, they need certainty around policies, right? And so you need more control. So although, speech to speech or voice to voice looks amazing right now, instruction following and these things I think are not where they need to be in order to really take this to the mainstream at an enterprise level. Maybe if you're creating an interaction in more of a social thing or a game or more just conversational or interesting, and that's your product, fantastic. For most of our customers that want to do transactions at scale and delight their customers and turn value, they need something a little bit more concrete. And that's where the cascade approach for us absolutely makes sense.
Really, really appreciate that insight. Okay, so what role has ElevenLabs played in your Agentforce journey?
Well, so ElevenLabs is a great partner. ElevenLabs is the voice of Agentforce Voice. So a really pivotal role is the answer to that. In terms of ElevenLabs, we did an evaluation, as one would do, of a lot of the different players that are out there. What do we find? Basically, the combination of all things pointed to ElevenLabs: quality of voice, speed, ability to have the kind of right tunability in the knobs, ability to have better word boosting and more. As we do a lot of things in industry, so being able to pronounce certain things correctly, whether you're like fixing a wind turbine or you're deep in an elevator and field service is a multi-billion-dollar business for us. There's a lot of words and things. ElevenLabs perform very well. Compared to others. And then also I think just the quality of the voices and thinking about brands. I think we're early innings right now. I love the voice market. Is that what it's called? The voice
Library,
market?
yeah.
Library, sorry. Of more and more voices getting out. I think this is like a really cool, almost like a day two problem where as everyone launches their voice agent and it's the frontier of their brand, they're going to want to differentiate right on how they sound within their space. So that's really fantastic, having high quality and having that diversity of voices coming in. And of course, latency. Those are all, I think, the most important criteria for us and why we chose ElevenLabs.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, so humbled to play a part. And so last question now, as you look at the future here, I mean, it feels like our pace of progress is actually accelerating. And since even the launch of Agentforce and in the broader space, the innovation is just really accelerating. I'd love to hear from you what you think is the future of conversational intelligence and agents over the next 5-10 years.
Okay, well, 5 or 10 years is a long time in AI, but I would say, look, we already kind of covered something that the way that we interact with computing, probably much more voice and conversational. It's natural, the multimodal aspect. I think that a lot. That's just going to get tighter and tighter in terms of the interaction space, visual and auditory. I don't know. I think that right now, one of the other things that we're thinking about is, personal AI versus, like, basically, actually, I think this is probably a big thing, is how will people interact? I think about brands a lot, our customer and our customers' customers. How are people going to interact with brands in the future? And I think there's two ways. One is that there is a direct kind of channel to them. Like, you go to their store, you go to their website, you call their phone number, like, you're kind of typing their domain and you go there directly. And for that, I think voice and conversational interface is basically an agent's. I think more broadly speaking, it's like the next channel, the new channel. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, just to date myself a little bit, when the web came out, the internet came out, and everybody was basically saying, well, do I need a website or not? And, like, you kind of know how that played out. It turns out your website is like just a different kind of storefront. It is a new way that you have to think about and build, and now we've got mobile, like your companion app to your business. It's like critical. And I think that's one big way that companies need to be able to build agents that are their brand ambassadors. And they need to be able to meet the moment for conversation and personalization and context and all the things that we know. And I also think that we're going to end up having personal AI as well. And this gets a little bit more into the A to A type stuff, the agent to agent type stuff, where you are going to interact with brands almost in a more indirect way. We're seeing this happen kind of fairly real time the last 6 to 12 months already. But I think that's going to be a whole different kind of interaction modality as well for companies. It may be more competitive, maybe less control. But that, I think, is going to be part of where we're heading. So voice, clearly, and I think also AI as proxy is going to be something that we're going to probably start seeing a lot more at the consumer level in maybe a lot less than 5 years, actually, kind of roll out. So I'd throw that out there.
I love it. That's a future I want to be a part of. I remember when the web came out as well. I was day trading tech stocks in high school, and I've just always fundamentally believed technology is going to have, a real upside. There's so much potential in the world to impact it in a positive way, and Agentforce is such a big part of that. Humbled to play a part of that journey as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Adam Evans. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, Adam.